Harambe YouTube, it's Charles here, and today I want to talk about an older comic. Nothing wrong at all with new comics. I love new comics. I read majority of new comics, but this comic book is from 1997, and I actually got introduced to this character in the lore a couple years ago when they returned to print. I am talking about She, and this is the Masquerade one-shot from Crusade Comics. I got introduced to this character from the series She, Return of the Warrior, which, interestingly, chronologically, started 15 years after the last issue in real time, as well as time in the story. And the thing I love about the character is that she is very much full of contradictions. A devout Catholic who comes from a line of warriors, who works in an art gallery and rejects the title of hero, but is a vigilante as well. And this one shot is very, very. It's all about that dichotomy and that that internal conflict within the character. Just to give you a little bit of the introduction, try as she might, Anna Ishikawa never quite had a normal life. Born in Kyoto, Japan, she was raised a devout Catholic by her American mother, but Japanese grandfather trained her in the ways of his secret warrior sect, the Sohai, until she was deadly enough to go forth and avenge her father's death at the hand of the Yakuza crime lord. Dressed in red battle garb, her white face paint hiding her identity, Anna struck against her father's killer with such ferocity that she came to be known as She, the Japanese word for death. But the bloody path of vengeance didn't square with her Christian values, and Anna ultimately renounced killing, now working in New York's exclusive Oiki Gallery. She seeks to lead a more normal existence, but situations still arise where She's skills are required, and Anna is not one to turn a blind eye to injustice. And so this story takes place on Halloween, and they kind of give you a little bit of the history of the lore and how it's, something else kind of masking this dark history and present. And we see She on the rooftops kind of watching out and trying to make sure that everybody is, minding their P's and Q's. And the thing that stood out to me more than the story itself is the art style. It's a watercolor art style here, and there are really no solid lines. Everything kind of bleeds in together, really creating something organic and moving. The way that the fog pours over the building that she's on, and how she seems at one with the background, and the whole book is really this beautiful watercolor style. And you get some more lines in the character that is also featured in this, a character named Pan, who is really a foe that becomes an ally by the end of the book. But you see in his fight scenes and in his movements, you have a little bit more structure, but still everything around him is that smooth, connected, organic watercolor style, which really makes his movements and his actions stand out all the more in a dichotomy to the rest of the art. And forgive me, I feel like I'm being pretentious using words like dichotomy and but I'm just trying to share what I see and the emotions that it invokes with you guys. And she crosses paths with this Pan as he is breaking up a robbery in progress. These three young guys having beset upon an older gentleman and assaulted him to take his money. He steps in as a protector and runs him off, but he decides not to end their lives because the old man is still alive at the moment. But when she arrives, she sees the old man down and injured. She sees Pan standing over him. And that's where the conflict begins, and you have kind of a big chase and fight scene spawning from this misunderstanding. And, through their dialogue, here's a great full 2-page panel here, which actually also is the cover, which I think is very cool that Crusade Comics was doing back in the 90s, was they would have these covers that extended to the back page in some of the books. And the cover is directly taken from the panels of the story here. But as they are battling back and forth, he's trying to explain to her what his intention is, and she, from his appearance, because he looks monstrous. He has this blue skin and these exaggerated features, and he does look like a monster. And in her mind, she's painting him as such, not really giving him the opportunity to explain what has happened. And like I said, it's interesting because she's a devout Catholic who abhors violence, but also feels a duty to violence to protect the innocent. And so you have that conflict, and here she is also with those devout beliefs, bouncing against her warrior ethic. And then those beliefs, a big part of those beliefs are grace and understanding and empathy, but she's letting the appearance of Pan and preconceived notions drive, this violence that she seems to abhor. And she keeps qualifying that violence by saying that she says throughout the book, I promise not to take another human life. But she has convinced herself that this person that she's been battling is inhuman. And so she gives herself that permission to take his life. And she ends up following his trail, putting together, because this guy has a legend, as told by more nefarious people. He is told to be a monster, but by those who he helps, he almost has his lore of a protector. And even knowing this in her mind, the dialogue is that he's a monster. And so she puts the context clues together, picks up his trail, and when she finds him, he's kind of skulking through the alley carrying something. And as we zoom in to what he's carrying, we find that it's groceries. He's carrying into an abandoned church. An abandoned church full of the homeless and downtrodden, who we find out that he not only protects but provides for. And these people, including all, men, women, and children, they don't see him as a monster. He is their family. And she breaks in, and she's, attacking him and going to war with him, and seeing the reactions of the people, and especially this one child that sees her as the monster, something kind of flips in her mind, and she asks herself, am I wrong? Have I judged the situation wrong? Is he the monster, or am I the monster? And you see, in these panels here, with the little girl, she says, Mr. Pan wouldn't hurt nobody. And she replies, but he's, how can you? And Pan says, it's alright, don't be afraid. She won't hurt you, talking to the little girl. And the little girl takes her by the hand and says, "Come on, I'll show you." And she still said, to the people, she says, "You people why aren't you afraid of him?" And still, even though she sees what he's done and who he is, and she still cannot get through her mind that this person that she's painting as a monster is in fact human. And then the little girl says, "Afraid of Mr. Pan? That's silly. He's our friend. He helps us." And she says, "Oh, he brings you groceries. He brings us groceries and all kinds of stuff. He takes care of us. This is his room. Isn't it nice? Mr. Pan used to be in the circus. Isn't that cool?" And that's when she finally softens her heart and she gets to know Pan and his plight and what he does for the community. And it, sets her on a path of self-reflection and questioning herself, and is she being true to what she believes? And it's a very deep book. It has a great message that cuts to the core of a faith that I personally try to live my life by. And not only does it have a strong message there, but it has a strong message about acceptance, prejudice, learning to see things from a different perspective, and change your mind according to new information. And it's just a very beautiful book in this watercolor style with the action and everything. There is not a wasted brushstroke in She Masquerade. So if you can find it, this was gifted to me in a big haul of comics that a friend of mine, he wanted to get off his collection. But you can still find back issues of She through Crusade Comics at MidtownComics.com. I actually just picked up another She book. This arrived earlier today. She Senryaku #2. This is from 1995. And you can also get the newer books, She Returned Warrior and She Haikyou. Those are the two latest books released in 2024 and 2025. The first one, She Returned Warrior, may have been 2023 or 2024, but She Haikyou definitely came out this year. So check those out from Crusade Comics. If you like action with beautiful art and a great underlying message, you can't beat this book. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, keep reading them books. I'm out.